I need to ask about Obi Toppin. I mean, is he on your list of hopefuls next year? I think we can list Quentin Grimes. I think that's a community agreement that Quentin Grimes is like this darling young player now after his off season. Hope he doesn't
Great,
disappoint.
great, great shooter.
Yeah, great shooter, great defender. Um, but what about Obi Toppin? There's not a lot of hype or noise or hope around him. Can you speak some hope for that guy on his team?
I mean, just remember those last two games that he played last season.
Mm.
35 points against the Wizards, 42 points against the Raptors, both in wins for the Knicks. Obviously, say what you want, whatever. Like Raptors probably rested players for the playoffs. Wizards were a bit of a mess,
No,
but
I mean, didn't they start most of their guys? What did they have? Was that
I
a rest
can't
game for them?
I can't even remember. I'm just saying that's what most people probably think when they
It
think
was
of
tight
that.
seating. I don't think they would have.
Yeah, that situation. But he showed he's got the ability, and he's only got he's still this is only his third year. Obviously, he's a little bit older, he'd be 24 years old, but Toppin has got a lot of ability. He's got great athleticism. He's got the ability to score the basketball. I think we're going to see him get a lot more minutes this year, and like obviously that could change possibly if a trade goes down. Yeah, if you think Randall's not on this team anymore, that's Obi Toppin. That's the position that he wants to be playing in at the four. Most likely that opens up for him. But I think even with Randall on the team, I still believe that he should be getting more minutes because he's that kind of grafter as well who can develop under a coach like Tom Thibodeau. And I think he likes playing under him. He's always been kind of on the periphery, showing like flashes of athleticism and different things like that. If he can become that little bit more of a two-way player and a really decent scoring threat off the bench, that's definitely possible this year. And I think we could see that come if he's given the opportunity in the right sort of situation as part of the rotation.
Yeah. In those last 10 games, 45% from three on nearly 6 attempts, 58% from the field on 13 overall attempts. Scored 20 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, 2.3 assists. The last 10 games, it's you don't take a lot from that, but I think what you do take is that you gave him opportunities to score the basketball inside out. I think he flashed that inside out potential. And he produced, and it wasn't inefficient. It wasn't just like raw numbers. I think that's a tough part. You mentioned Randall. That where does he kind of place out here? Are there any other players that you're hopeful for next year? Any growth?
I mean, I guess you look at Fournier, can he just be a bit more consistent? Obviously, he was a good 3-point shooter for us last year. Outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot there. I mean, give us a bit more reason why we gave you that nice contract. You're thinking, can Emmanuel quickly become a more efficient scorer on this team? What are we going to see from Isaiah Hartenstein and Jericho Sims? Are we going to see some more minutes for them? How's it going to work with Robinson? Obviously, they paid the money to get him back. You're almost kind of thinking, obviously, they're not going to be able to trade him now for a while after bringing him back on that contract. But you kind of thinking the way that they brought Hartenstein and the way that Sims has shown the flashes in his limited time, they were kind of almost preparing for playing without Mitchell Robinson. But then I guess something clicked and they wanted to bring him back. But I think they're ready. If your two bigs were Hartenstein and Sims, I think you'd definitely be happy with that, especially seeing Sims get some more minutes. Because I mean, Robinson, as much as you want to believe he can be a really great paint defender and a good lob threat, we haven't seen enough of it as of yet, and he's just not on the floor enough. Obviously, we obviously talked about that before, but he is very injury prone. You cannot. I still don't think you can rely enough on him for what he produces. It wouldn't be worth the risk, and it'd be better to see a guy like Sims get some more minutes.
Yeah, and I think after we've been talking about the depth at every position, I think that's a positive here. The positive of this team, and one reason to be hopeful, is you go up and down the roster, and there is, maybe not depth necessarily in terms of like real NBA production depth, but in terms of talent, I think you did see things. I agree with that. You see that he's a much more versatile athlete. But I think both Robinson and Hardenstein, I think they're both good for different reasons. Both of them are fantastic rim protectors, and Tibbs needs that. Hartenstein's a great passer, and you look up and down the forward position. Guys are deep there, and they're guys with things to prove. And not everyone's going to pop, but I think it would be. I would be shocked next year if you don't have a breakout year from somebody on this team. There's just too much. I think there's too much actually good young talent on this team for someone to not figure that out with or without the express approval of Tom Thibodeau. I think they'll have to force their way into that. I think the forgotten guy is still Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish is I forgot. Is he getting at minutes? Because I still really, really believe in his talent. I do. I think there's too much untapped potential there. Honing that is the difficult part. But and even a guy like him, that if the end of the season, like the storyline is Cam Reddish reclaimed his status as blue chip talent, and now RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish are two like Duke friends now competing for the playoffs on the same team in New York. I don't know. There are ways if you just like squint, if you squint really hard and you look at this roster and you think ahead 10 months from now, you could have a really deep group of young guys who have coalesced and have found a way to play together after a train wreck of a season last year. Because I don't think it gets worse. I think it only gets better.
Thanks for watching Coast to Coast on YouTube. For full episodes, check out the show wherever you get your podcasts. And for all the best hot takes, subscribe to the Coast to Coast YouTube channel below.